Hey, welcome to Sober City. My name is Seth, and I am an alcoholic. Thank you so much for listening again. This week, I'm excited to introduce you to my wonderful friend, Vic, or Victoria. She is somebody that I've known for a while. She's one of the first friends I made when I was getting sober. Vic is just an amazing, encouraging person and somebody that I admire greatly because Vic has had her number of relapses. And that's something that I kind of wanted to bring onto the podcast. I haven't really talked about what it looks like when you relapse, maybe once or twice or four times, whatever. I've always admired people who relapse and then are able to attempt sobriety again. And specifically because by the grace of God, I have not relapsed. And honestly, it's for the fear of, I just don't know if I'd have the courage to try it again. But Vic thankfully has, and she's put on a couple years of sobriety already and going strong and has helped a lot of people, including myself, in their journey. So I'm excited to share her story with you today. And as always, I appreciate your support and encouragement. And thank you again for listening. So with all that said, life is beautiful, sobriety is worth it, and God for today. This is Sober City. Well, Vic, welcome to Sober City.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited and I feel very honored and privileged to be a part of your show.
It is an honor and privilege to have you on it, Vic. How long have you been sober?
I have been sober since January 10th of 2023. So tomorrow it'll be 2 years and 2 months.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
That's huge. That's a long time. A lot of not drinking.
A lot of not drinking.
January 10th, 2023, you decided to make a change. What prompted you to make that change?
I remember my last relapse and coming to and feeling completely terrified. And I was shaking, I was trembling, and I couldn't stop shaking, like definitely probably DTs. And I just realized that I was dying. And there was just one person who would not give up on me. And after that last relapse, I told her I was ready. And yeah, it's just been sober living ever since. But long drinking career before that.
What was your relationship like with alcohol throughout your life?
The first time I drank, I was 18, and it was magic. I just felt like I was alive. Like I fully came I just felt like I fully came alive. Could conquer the world, and I was definitely I'm an alcoholic from the get-go. I drank like 13 shots of tequila that night, had 4 beers, and blacked out. And yeah, and then I was like, I'm not going to do that again. And then that following weekend, I was like, I want to feel that way again. I don't want to feel sick, but I want to feel that.
When you drank for that first time and you say you came alive, what do you mean you came alive?
Everything just felt right in my world. I felt like I was a part of. Like when I was sober, I just felt like an alien. I was not comfortable in my own skin. And when I was drinking, I just felt this is how I've always wanted to feel, just a part of. Like I could talk to anybody. I was fearless, reckless,
Confident?
confident for sure.
Absolutely. And that was 18.
Yep. I was
And
18.
so you basically had about 15 years from that moment of drinking too much, and afterwards you swore it off. But then it started a 15-year-long career of drinking.
It did. When I turned 21, I was at the bar all the time, lived there after work, ended up being a bartender and was drinking on the job. And after hours, the bartenders and I would go to an after party and drink till like 4 a.m. and then just kind of do it all over again. In 2013, I was in a rollover accident. Nobody else was involved. It was just me. And I was at this party. It was on St. Patrick's Day. And I blacked out at this party. And when I woke up, nobody was there. I was like totally alone. And I heard one voice and I thought it was this kid's mom. So I freaked out and I left and was driving on this dirt road. And this bunny rabbit darted out in front of me. And I slammed on my brakes and turned my wheel and overcorrected, and I rolled my vehicle. Well, it wasn't my vehicle, it was my stepdad's car. And I rolled that a couple times just 100 yards away from the tri-state. I could have ended up in water and I could have drowned and died. So that was a huge awakening for me. I ended up calling the police on myself, and it was like probably between 2 and 4 in the morning. I didn't want to call my mom. I was terrified. Ended up calling the police. And I remember them taking me by ambulance to the hospital. And the police officer stayed at the hospital with me. And because he had asked if I'd been drinking, and I told them that, yes, I had been drinking. I was very young. And he gave me a breathalyzer and he just shook his head no. And he's like, that can't be right. And did the breathalyzer again. It was like over a 0.2. And he's like, I can't believe this. We're going to do a blood alcohol content or BAC test on you. And it was hot. And he just looked at me and said, I can't believe how intoxicated you are. You don't look or sound like you are intoxicated. And he said, I'm going to have to take you to jail, but I will spare you the cuffs and allow you to keep your dignity. And we'll just walk out of here together and we'll go into my cop car and then we're going to go to jail. And my mom, tough love. I love her so much. I was in jail for 17 days. I was not bailed out. My mom made sure that did not happen. The people I was working with at the time, I worked for this really cool boutique, and my boss was trying to get people to pitch in to bail me out. And my mom found out and she was like, absolutely not. She is staying there. She deserves this. And I remember like calling my mom, like crying, yelling at her, like, get me out of here. I don't belong in here. Anyway, the judge was really cool with me and gave me time served. And then I had to do, what was it?
Diversion program?
Yeah, diversion program. And then I owed a fine and had my license revoked for a year, SR 22. That was expensive. And I just swore, that I was not going to drink again. And I was sober for about 6 months. I was dating my ex-husband at the time. And we went out to dinner with his brother and sister-in-law. And they ordered drinks. And my ex was like, are you going to order a drink with us? And I'm like, no, I don't think so. And he's like, I think you can have a drink with us. Like, you're a big girl. Like, you can have one. And I'm like, yeah, I guess you're right. So had one and then just spiraled from there.
But you were at a restaurant. You were not going to drink. He had said, you can probably drink.
Right.
You're an adult. And you were convinced that you could drink normally.
Definitely.
Which is always our wish.
Yeah.
Somehow we always manage to mess that up. That night, were you able to drink responsibly? Or did you go off that night?
I had a couple drinks that night. And I felt proud of myself, but also I was so infuriated because I wanted to drink more. I just felt like I wasn't allowed to have more than that. It wasn't easy.
No, I get that. That's part of the long-term strategy, right? I'm willing to compromise the discomfort of only having 2 drinks now to convince whoever I'm with that I can drink responsibly in preparation for being able to drink in the future. If I blow it tonight, then that's not going to get me in a good position to gain their trust. The only thing worse than not drinking was drinking 1 or 2. Like, I'd rather just not drink. If I can only have 1, then no, I'm not interested.
Right. I can totally relate. We ended up getting married and moved to Mitchell, South Dakota. I'm from Nebraska originally. And it was a very abusive marriage, and he cheated on me a lot. I was drinking during that time. I was very isolated. My parents lived 5.5 hours away, and my siblings were even farther. Yes, it got really bad. The drinking and the marriage. I ended up leaving and lived with my parents for 3 months. When I moved in, my stepdad was like, "You're getting a job and you have an interview tomorrow. I set you up with an interview." So I had an interview that next day and got a job at a motel cleaning rooms. And it was not a rewarding job. Alcohol wasn't allowed really in my parents' home. They're not big drinkers and they knew about my problem. So there were like no alcohol here. And I used to sneak it in my purse and then I'd put it in my suitcase and I would drink every night after they'd go to bed and go to work. And then, I had that job for a few months and then I got this job as a live-in caregiver. And I drank myself to the point that I had gotten pancreatitis. And I swore that I was not going to drink again. After that, I got a tattoo of that date to prove to myself and everybody else that I was serious about not drinking again. And I was. I didn't anticipate on drinking again. But that obsession, I was just obsessed with alcohol. I couldn't stop thinking about it. And eventually I ended up drinking again. I don't know if it was a good day or a bad day, whatever kind of day it was, I drank. I got pancreatitis a second time. And after that, I swore again, never gonna drink. Like, I honestly didn't think my body could handle having pancreatitis again. I ended up having it 2 more times after that.
So you had pancreatitis 4 times?
4 times.
Wow.
That third time, the doctor told me, if you drink again, you will die. And I was on like sucralfate 4 times a day and Creon every day, like 3 times a day, I think, just to keep my pancreas functioning. Yeah, it wasn't good and it was excruciating.
Yeah, pancreatitis is rough. I mean, I've never had it,
Mhm.
but I've heard it's pretty uncomfortable. What was the date that you got tattooed?
Uh, January 19th, or is that January 29th of 2019?
Okay. So
It's
still,
so important and relevant
sure,
today.
right, I know, isn't that, well, fortunately it's in Roman numerals, so most people aren't able to tell what date that is, but I get it, and really I appreciate that you haven't covered it up. I think that's part of your journey, right? And you got that after you got pancreatitis the first time,
Correct.
because you had felt that a medical emergency as a result of alcohol abuse would be enough for you to wake up and stop drinking.
Yeah, that was probably the second time because after I had rolled, after I'd gotten in, after I got my DUI, I was in jail for 17 days and I was like, I'm not ever going to do that again. At that time, I was a live-in caregiver and I was sober for 588 days. And then that night happened
What night happened?
I'm gonna get to it.
Okay.
So
Sorry.
I was friends with my neighbor, and her sister was a nurse, and she took care of my grandmother from time to time. And it was my neighbor's sister's wedding, so I got invited to go to the wedding. Pretty sure I got a little stoned before I went to that wedding. I had taken a pack of non-alcoholic beer with me because I knew everybody was going to be drinking, and everybody was drinking. And so I had my NA with me and went up to the bar. It was an open bar. My friends were working. They were distributing drinks, and everybody, all of a sudden, everybody was at the bar, and it was time to take a shot. And I said, no. They're like, it's just one shot. I'm like, no, like, haven't drank in over a year. They're like, it's one Jello shot. And so I'm like, okay, like, whatever, it's one Jello shot. And I threw away 588 days. That night, I was drugged and I was raped. And that was really when I started drinking to die. I I had to move. I was dating somebody at the time who lived in Somerset, South Dakota, which is really close to Rapid City. So I decided to move out here, and we lived with his parents for a few months. And I was hiding alcohol then, and uh went to we ended up getting our own place. And I was just trying to hide the fact that I was drinking so heavily. I was drinking a handle every night, whiskey. That was my thing. My boyfriend slash fiance at the time worked a night shift, basically from 2 to 11. So when I would get off work, I'd go to the liquor store, buy my alcohol. Sometimes I was drunk before I even got home, and I would drink and then I'd hide it and try to be in bed, if not asleep, by the time he got home. And there were times where there were just so many bottles that I had to like eventually get rid of them. And I would fill up big black trash bag, big black trash bags just full of bottles. And I hated it. I hated the sound that they made, all the bottles clinking. And I would wait until really late at night to throw them out in the dumpster. And then I would hear that crashing of all the bottles, and I'd be like, ugh, and then go back inside and drink some more.
Yeah, that makes sense. That's funny to me because, man, getting rid of empties is the worst. That time when you know you've got to clean up now,
Mm-hmm.
and that feeling of being kind of exposed, right?
Yes.
The idea that somebody's going to see me and they're going to find out. And
Mm-hmm.
it is a sick feeling. And sometimes you shock yourself with how many empties you end up having.
Yeah.
It's disappointing. It's gross. Then you go to certain lengths. I would go to certain gas stations, throw it in those trash cans. And then I would get this anxiety like I was on camera. Somebody saw me. This is paranoia. The empties are tough to deal with. I can relate to that. It doesn't stop us from drinking,
No.
but it is a component of that hiding that I hated.
I remember one night I was buying my alcohol, and the sales clerk was like, so you gonna party tonight? You party like every night? And I'm like, yeah, I party every night, like by myself in the living room.
That's right. Yeah.
but, but then that was when I was like, oh, okay, people are keeping tabs. I need to start going to other places. And I would drive like 24 miles out of the way just to buy my alcohol.
Exactly. Yeah, that sounds about right too.
Yep.
Also, the fear of a friend or an acquaintance walking in and seeing you buy just a bottle of liquor You're obviously getting a pint or a handle of something cheap,
Hmm.
bottom shelf. It's just not a good look.
Before I was living in a tiny town, there were 2 gas stations. So, and one of the gas stations, you could only get beer, and I'm not interested in that. So I'd go to the other place. When she made that comment, I was so humiliated. All right, I'm only going to go there like once a week or something like that.
That was the worst when the attendant would make certain comments and you're just like, just please ring it up. I don't want to talk to you.
Hmm.
One time, a guy was like, hey, it'd be cheaper if you just bought this. And I was like, I have a system. I'm buying this because it fits under my seat.
Right.
I'm not looking to save money here. Just ring it up, bud. I don't need any advice. I know what I'm doing. So much of your life is consumed by this stupid stuff that's supposed to help us, that we think is helping us, but in reality, it's just making our life miserable.
Hmm.
But we don't think there's any other solution.
No, alcohol was the solution. It made me feel better. It took away all of my negative emotions. I don't like negative emotions. I don't like feeling angry. I don't like feeling sad, especially sad, because then I feel weak. Alcohol took all of that away.
And so you're living with, this is a fiance in Rapid,
Yes.
and you're hiding your alcohol. You're disposing of the empties,
Yes.
trying to be asleep by the time he gets home. You guys end up getting married?
No, we did not get married. We're no longer an item, but he stuck with me through a lot. Yeah, seriously, bless that dude. I put him through hell. One day, he was like, Victoria, I just can't watch you do this. I can't watch you. You're killing yourself and you need to get help. You need to go to rehab. You need treatment. And if you don't do this, I just can't be with you anymore. And I was devastated, of course. I had to quit drinking and devastated that this guy was going to leave me, but he had every right to. And so I went to rehab and I was there for 30 days. I was sober for 6 days leading up to going to treatment. And then I started having anxiety like, oh, these people know that I'm not drinking when I get there. They're going to think I don't have a problem. And yeah, I bought a liter of Jim Beam and drank it all the way to Canton, South Dakota from Rapid. I can't remember how long of a drive that is. It's at least 5.5 hours because I think it's close to Sioux Falls. But yeah, I got there and I was really drunk and they put me in detox for a while. And I just remember being in treatment thinking like, I really am going to give this my best shot. Like I'm going to get better. And they really pushed finding a mentor, somebody who can relate to you and someone who's been sober for quite some time. And remember getting home, I was sober for at least 3 months. I found a mentor. She's amazing. I went to a restaurant with my ex-fiance and his parents, and it was a wait to get our table. So his mom drinks, and we went and sat at the bar, and I ordered a non-alcoholic beer. I took a drink of that, and I knew for certain there was alcohol in it. Looked over at Chris and I'm like, there's alcohol in this. And he's like, no way. So he takes a sip of his because he ordered the same thing and had alcohol in it. And then I was like, I have to call my mentor. I should probably do that. And that obsession kicked in and all rationality was out the window. I drank it until it was gone and I didn't order another one, but I just remember after that feeling restless, irritable, discontent because I needed another one so bad. I remember calling her and telling her what happened. And I was like, I think I'm okay though. I think I'm good. It was just one. I could have had more than that. And she's like, I think you need to come over and we need to sit down and visit. So I went over to her place and she was like, look, Vic, if you had just had that one sip and realized there was alcohol in it and had quit drinking it, then that would have been okay. But you knew there was alcohol in it and you continued to drink it. You've relapsed. You relapsed, dude. And then I went on a bender for a while after that. And one night I called her and I'm lying about my drinking. Eventually, she calls me out on it and she's like, look, I know you've been drinking. And if you continue on with this behavior, I just can't mentor you anymore. It just felt like an entire building collapsed on me because she was the last person to give up on me. And I was talking to my sister about that today, and she was like, but your family loves you. We never gave up on you. We always knew there was hope for you. We just exhausted all of our resources. Like you totaled vehicles, you've been to jail, you've been to rehab, you've been to intensive outpatient. Like you checked yourself into those places voluntarily. They just had exhausted their resources. But I felt like I had given up on myself and I felt like everybody else had given up on me. And so when my friend said that to me, I'm ready. I'm ready to turn my life around. And I wish I could say I did it that night, but I didn't. I still drank. And then I woke up, I came to one morning and was just terrified when I woke up. I was trembling and shaking. And I just felt so close to death. And I wanted to die, but I really wanted to live. And so that's really when I turned my life around. And I found a group of people who have similar problems with alcohol, but also have a solution. That was the thing for me, was like alcohol was the solution. I thought it was the problem, but it was my solution. And so you take that drink away from me and I'm just like writhing in uncomfortability. And anyway, these friends of mine just paved the road for me and have guided me to a path that where I'm truly happy and I have joy. But part of that process was looking at my resentments, because I had a lot of resentments towards people and especially towards myself. And so I had to face those resentments and ag- acknowledge my role in those resentments. Because a lot of times we feel justified in our resentments, right? You stole money from me, so it's okay for me to be mad at you. Or I can steal money from you because you stole money from me, right? So that resentment's really unjustifiable because two wrongs don't make a right. And so I had to really take a look at my role in my resentments and take accountability for them. Part of taking accountability is making amends to those people, which is not easy, but it's been extremely rewarding. Just cleaning out that garbage can.
How long of a bender would you say you went on when you had that one alcoholic beverage at that restaurant? How long did that set you off for, would you say?
3 or 4 months.
3 or 4 months. And during that time, you're being dishonest to this person that is attempting to try to help you get sober. You're not being honest about your drinking.
Not being honest with her. I'd like to think that I pulled it off for a while, but then I was slacking on checking in with her. And there were signs, of course, that were very obvious. There were times when I would check in with her and I would be drinking. I'd already be intoxicated. And I think I can play it off really well. And I think that I can sound sober. And we're just so delusional, right?
That doesn't make sense. Why would you even be wanting to check in with her, right? She's trying to help you get sober and you're drinking. Why are you doing that? That doesn't make sense. I'm not judging you.
No,
I'm guilty of it, but that's the insanity of it.
I want to present myself in such a way that I look good.
That's it. That's what I mean. It's ego.
It's definitely ego.
You had an image and an ego to maintain, and that was more important to you than being honest to this person who's trying to help you, that's taking time out of their day, out of their life to help you.
Very, very selfish of me.
Eventually, thankfully, this person called you out on it.
Yeah, she did. I'm so grateful for that. And she's still my mentor today. I've been sober for 2 years and 2 months.
That's huge. And you said, though, that she had said, if you continue, I can't help you. And that was devastating. I get that. You still continued, right?
Yeah.
That wasn't even the wake-up call. Did you then cut off communication with her? Or did you continue to be dishonest about it? And what did that look like until you woke up that morning with that crippling anxiety and fear and the gift of desperation, essentially, is what we call it?
Well, because I'd already been drinking when we had that conversation. And the thing with me is like, when I start drinking, I cannot stop. And I just can't stop. I don't have an off switch. I continue drinking that night. I don't know if it was weeks or months or if it was like the next day.
But eventually you woke up January 10th, 2023.
Yeah.
Right? And said, I've had enough. I'm ready. I'm willing.
Mm-hmm.
And you called her and she was willing to.
Yeah, she said, come on over.
It's tough, but we aren't your family. We aren't your friends that might continue to tolerate poor behavior.
Mm-hmm.
I don't get paid for this. I'm here to help you. But if you're not willing to help yourself, what am I doing? So January 10th, 2023, you go over there and you start working towards a solution that does not come in the form of a substance or liquid.
Mm-hmm.
And how does that initial period of 90 days look?
Oh, it looks ugly. It's a lot of blood, sweat, and tears. It's not easy. But staying away from that first drink, I had to surround myself with support, with people who are alcoholics in recovery. And those people are my family. Like, you are my family. And I'm just so fortunate. If I didn't have the support, I can't assure you that I'd be sitting here with you today.
It's something that we cannot do on our own.
Yeah.
In a number of ways.
The biggest resource in my sobriety has been my higher power. Because alcohol was the solution and alcohol was my higher power. I worshipped alcohol, clearly based on my actions. And when I finally conceded to the fact that I was powerless over alcohol, I had to find that power in something else. It had to be something bigger than anything human. And the only word I have for that is God or creator or just my higher power. And using God as an outlet, I never thought that I would be free from the obsession of alcohol. And that is a miracle in my life. That is not me. That is not of my own making. I am an alcoholic. And for that obsession to be lifted is nothing short of a miracle.
How long did it take for that obsession to dissipate?
The obsession dissipated probably within that first year of sobriety. And it was incredible.
Within that first year, but not within 90 days.
No, it wasn't within 90 days. There was a lot of work I had to do.
You had to white knuckle it.
I had to white knuckle it for sure.
What did you do during that 90 days to get you to the point of eventually not having to white knuckle it.
I kept myself so busy. I immersed myself in work, and outside of work, I help others who are in a similar situation that I've been in. I've realized that working with others has been really huge. This God thing, though, I believe that God loves you and forgives you. So this is like just recent. I came to this realization that God loves me and forgives me just as much as he loves and forgives you. And that has just been a huge game changer in my life. Just feeling, actually, like really feeling that grace and mercy. It's hard to explain.
As an alcoholic, we deal with so much guilt, shame, and remorse,
Mm-hmm.
and we feel like we do not deserve anything good.
Mm.
And there's something powerful about just relentless grace and mercy that once you get to a point in your sobriety when you're willing to accept it and have that humility, that you really begin to experience life in a way that it's no longer about you. You have this obligation to extend that grace and mercy that you've received. And that's really this consistent conviction. I should not be here, really. You shouldn't be here. Pancreatitis 4 times, rolling a vehicle. I mean, I was incredibly suicidal.
Yeah, I was too.
It's really an act of mercy and grace. I feel like by the grace of God, I feel like I'm here and I can be present and I get to experience these things that I would have missed out on had I accomplished. I was an atheist. Obviously, I didn't believe in heaven or hell. Maybe there is. Maybe there's a heaven or hell. But whatever's out there, whatever's after this, it can't be worse than this. That was my conclusion. Just get me out of here.
Yeah.
It's so selfish. The trauma I would have put my wife and kids through because I was unwilling to do the work it took to get better.
Mm-hmm.
Once I conceded and realized that I'm just not in control, I don't know what I'm doing, life got better. So much of our life, we've only looked forward to alcohol, to drinking.
Yeah.
That was what got us through the day. It was the idea that I can get drunk tonight.
I love how you mentioned being present earlier. That is such a gift. Before, I couldn't be present for anything, not really. And if I was present, I was presently drinking. I went to visit my family in Milwaukee, and it was just so beautiful to be present with them. So many times they had seen me drunk or listened to me on the phone drunk, crying about my life and how miserable I am and whatever. That trip was really unforgettable because I was truly present. And I'm truly present daily. And when I find myself like trailing off and like thinking about the past, and I have to remind myself not to slip into morbid reflection. And if I catch myself looking too far into the future, I get anxiety. And it's good to plan for the future, but like just being present, just really being in the moment and feeling all the feelings that you don't want to feel, because life isn't easy. Just because we get sober doesn't make life easy. It makes life easier, but life's still hard. And disappointments happen, pain, breakups, death. But just to be present through all of that and feel those feelings, I've had to do a lot of work on myself.
Just not drinking is just the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
Winston Churchill said, not the beginning of the end. It's not even the beginning. It's just the beginning of the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know why that quote always sticks out to me, but that's really what not drinking was. It was not the beginning of the end. It was just the beginning of the beginning. When my wife kicked me out, she was like, I don't want you to just not drink. I want you to be happy. And I was like, I can not drink. But when it comes to being happy, I don't even know what being happy looks like. It was a scary feeling because how do I get happy? And now I can't drink. man, I just felt like I was up against an impossible task. At that point, I might as well just start looking for apartments. I don't know. It was rough.
How did you get to the point where you like discovered joy?
It was really just looking at where do I draw my power from? Once I realized that I was pulling power from myself,
Mm-hmm.
that's a terrible place to draw power from because I'm looking at myself for something that I don't have.
Mm-hmm.
So then I had to get outside myself. I had to stop thinking about Seth for a while. And that was tough. I didn't realize how selfish I was until months into sobriety. And then all of a sudden, you start getting this new perspective. You start looking back at your life and you realize what you've put people through.
Mm-hmm.
And you realize your attitude and your approach to other human beings and how judgmental and cynical and prejudicial you were. It's tough to really then begin to start taking that apart, just taking layers of filth off you. It's like when we talked about getting rid of our empties.
Yeah.
It's like months of just dumping out empties, but as you're dumping them out, you're dumping them out in front of people you love. You are gradually starting to unveil this life that you have kept secret for so long. And eventually, yeah, that burden starts to lighten up. And then you realize, in order for me to stop thinking about myself, I have to start thinking of other people a lot.
And there's so much freedom in that.
There's a lot more freedom. I know that's what I thought was weird, was I thought believing in a higher power, believing in God, would be more restrictive. But you talked about how restrictive you lived when alcohol was your higher power. How much little time you had, how much of your day was committed to alcohol. When you talk about driving 24 miles to
Yeah.
go to a random liquor store so that nobody recognizes you,
Seriously.
and then you're talking about drinking and driving, how restrictive was it to be in jail for 17 days? Yeah, that's the insanity of it, is we have no idea.
We're so delusional.
We really think there's no solution. We think that this is it for me. These are the cards I've been dealt. And there's a component when we talk about ego that we just play the victim card. Poor me, you don't know what it's like.
Oh my God, I was so self-pitiful.
Yeah, that self-pity is exhausting.
It really is.
And I remember my wife getting to the point when I could tell in her voice she was done. She had no more sympathy, pity, whatever I was looking for to give me.
Mm-hmm.
When I was on the phone with her complaining about something, stressed, I was having an anxiety attack, and she was like, "You're crazy." And I kept trying to explain it to her. If I just explain it to you the right way, then you'll understand what I'm afraid of right now. And no, she's like, "No, this is stupid." And then I was like, "Why are you being so cold?" That was a scary call, because when I got off the phone with her, I was like, wow, she is done with me.
Yeah, it's a scary.
And you'd think then I was like, I need to make a change, but no. I just tallied it up to one more reason why my life sucks.
One more reason why you should have another drink.
I had one more reason why I'm just alone in this world. Nobody cares about me. My wife doesn't care about me. And meanwhile, I'm not being the best I can be at my job. I'm not being present. So then I'm stressing about money.
Dude, I would drink on the job. I was a caregiver, you know?
Oh, sure. Yeah.
I was going to clients' homes who are like wheelchair bound, and I'm sneaking bottles in their home and drinking in their bathroom. One late afternoon, I was at a client's house and I sat down on the couch, and before I knew it, I'm passed out. And I come to her screaming at me, "Victoria, get up! What are you doing? Get up!" And I'm late to my next client's appointment. And I get there, and my boss shows up, and our supervisor shows up at my next client's house. And they're like, "What happened?" And I just made up this story. She had an accident and I had to clean her up. And I'm sorry I didn't call. I was just busy. And one of them was like, "Kind of smells like alcohol." have you been drinking? Like, no. Are you kidding me? At this job? Like, no. And I like really just try to convince her. She was like, huh, that's weird because I smell alcohol. And I'm like, that's weird. And the next morning they called me into the office and we sat down and I was like, look, I'm sorry for insulting your intelligence. I was drinking and I'm sick of this and you didn't deserve to be lied to. And our clients don't deserve that either. And I'm very fortunate. My clients are very fortunate that nothing bad happened to them. But like, I'm going to go get help. And I did. But I still, that self-reliance, you know,
But still, that experience was not enough for you to stop.
no,
That wasn't it for you.
just stop for a while. But then that obsession creeps up. And I don't know, I think about that drink. It'd be nice to have a drink right now. Life is good. I'd like to have a drink. Life is bad. I'd like to have a drink. And then falling back and doing it all over again. I relapsed a lot, but yeah, just staying away from that first drink and immersing yourself in other people
Yeah, and
has
staying
been,
busy, right?
and staying busy. Yes, has been very helpful.
And I think that is what drives normies nuts, right? Our family members. How many times do we have this issue with alcohol and we don't stop?
Yeah, they don't understand. It's hard to even explain. It doesn't because it doesn't make any sense. Like you put your body through hell and you put people around you through hell. But like that obsession is just so great. It was for me anyway.
No, it is an obsession. And I know exactly what you're talking about when you talk about going to Milwaukee and being around family, and these people have seen you at your worst. And you're almost elated to show them this new Vic.
Hmm.
You don't have to worry about potentially getting a whiff of alcohol on me. You don't have to worry about me making an idiot of myself.
Or embarrassing you.
Or embarrassing you, or being emotionally imbalanced, moody,
Hmm.
mopey. All these things. It is so gratifying to be able to take a trip, to not get hammered at the airport.
I remember my brother, when I was in Milwaukee, he got a little teary eyed and he was just like, Vic, I'm so proud of you. Like, just what you're doing, keep doing it. And another thing that helped me stay away from that first drink, like being new in sobriety, was avoiding the places that I used to buy alcohol. I would have to take a completely different route to work and back home because I couldn't drive past this liquor store and I couldn't drive past that liquor store or this gas station. And so just switching up your routine a little bit is helpful.
That's a big component. Don't put yourself in a position where you might slip back into that rut.
Mm-hmm.
I know my first year of sobriety, I did not go golfing. I think I went golfing once, and I was like, this sucks. I don't even think I like golfing. I like drinking. That's what I realized. I did not go snowboarding because it was just too much to not drink. Unfortunately, now I'm at a point where I'm starting to do those things without even thinking about alcohol.
Yeah, it's amazing.
And what's incredible is I'm actually a good snowboarder, a good golfer, right? I'm a good poker player. Like everything that I thought I had to drink to have fun with is not the case. I'm confident and comfortable, and I'm grateful for that. It's a freeing feeling, but it does take work. The best thing for me is to be able to talk to somebody else that's in that beginning phase and encourage them, and it helps to remind me of what that used to be like.
Yeah, I love mentoring people new in sobriety because a lot of them, they come to you and they want something different. They want what you have and then they fall off and you don't hear from them again. But working with others is reminder of where I used to be and that there's hope. I try to relay that to other women and men that there is hope. You can be a chronic relapser, such as myself, and you can live a life that is full and just abundant with joy. I'm not happy every single day, but I have joy every single day. I didn't have that before when I was drinking.
It is nice to just live life in a way where I am not in a constant state of fear or sadness. Like you said, life doesn't care if you're in sobriety. Like life doesn't slow down. You still have bad days.
Mm-hmm.
People can still be pretty cruel, but I'm just grateful I am not depressed. I don't have empties in my car. When my wife says, "Hey, I need to use your car for a sec," I don't have this anxiety attack and immediately have to take this inventory of what's in my car. Did I throw that bottle away? Where did I put it?
Mm-hmm.
Where's my weed? All those things, to live a life of rigorous honesty. And it's tough. Before I was only honest when it made me look good, right?
Right.
Now it's like I have to be honest when I know I'm wrong, when I know I messed up. I can't lie because I know the second I lie and I get away with it, I'll slip right back into that old habit of just avoiding confrontation and doing whatever I have to do to make sure I'm comfortable, including lying to the people I love, the people that I am now reestablishing trust with. And you put in all this work and time, and eventually you're like, I cannot ruin that. If
Mm-hmm.
anything else, I cannot blow it because people get tired.
Well, and then when we lie, we feel icky about it. I feel icky about it. And then when you keep on lying and keep feeling icky, and then you get resentful, and then boom, there's alcohol.
And then that feeling too of blowing that sobriety like you had felt all that time. And I think that's what's hard is like what you said when your mentor told you you relapsed and in your mind, you just blew all those days.
Yeah.
And what I can guarantee you, I know exactly what you thought. Well, shoot, if I would have known that was a relapse, I would have went off, right?
Mm-hmm.
That regret of, well, if I would have been a relapse, I would have taken advantage of it. And really, that's what probably sent you on that bender.
Definitely.
I just missed an opportunity. Now I'm going to utilize that opportunity because I'm out day 2. And then you go on this bender for months.
Yeah, we just justify ourselves.
Yeah, you're lying to this person that's trying to help you. I get it. Whoever's helping you was right. That is dishonor. I'm not going to buy into your BS.
Mm-hmm.
You knew there was alcohol in that with the first sip, and you decided to finish it and then call me.
Mm-hmm.
That's being dishonest. When she said, "No, that's a relapse. You're starting over," I'd probably be the same way. Well, shoot, I might as well drink now, right?
Yeah.
I'm going to take advantage of this. I think you have to come into sobriety with the mindset that your next relapse could kill you. You do not have to relapse to recover.
No, you absolutely do not. I know people who haven't relapsed, and like it's amazing. It's really, really amazing.
By the grace of God, I haven't relapsed, but I really take it seriously. I had a psychologist that told me early on in my sobriety, she said, "Seth, I would be very concerned if you relapsed. I don't think you'd come back."
Mm.
And I don't think she meant come back to sobriety. I get so depressed. Like I
Dude,
am not a fun drunk. I get sad and I think thoughts that are dangerous and I should not be thinking things like that. And so that's my mindset. I can't. I look at alcohol, I look at anything, any mind altering substance. And I think that if I consume that, I could die.
it's
And I don't want to die.
serious. It's very, very serious. Honestly, if I were to relapse, I I'd be a goner for sure.
And that's where it helps to have people in your life that are able to catch you early on.
So subconsciously, we think about a relapse months before we relapse. Also, I want to say to people, if you have relapse dreams, it's not it's not a promise that you're going to relapse. In the last 2 years, I've had one relapse dream, and that was actually pretty recent. I was really stressed out and just a lot of things at work and outside of work were going on in my life, and I thought man, if I were to have a drink right now, I wouldn't have to feel this way. I wouldn't have to feel numb. And then that was just one thought. And then a whole flood of thoughts came into my mind that was like, but if you drink, you're going to lose everything. I was so close to being homeless. My family didn't want to talk to me when I was drunk, but I was literally drunk all the time. So I was like isolating myself. And I don't know, but like it was a dream. It was just a dream, you know? And I'm still sober today and I'm going to be sober tomorrow. And so don't let those relapse dreams terrify you and don't let them rule you into thinking that you're going to have a relapse.
And I think it's just a matter of being diligent and proactive and really making sobriety your identity, because alcohol is our identity. I have to diligently every day be thinking, I'm an alcoholic. I'm an
Me
alcoholic.
too.
You know, I have to remind myself. It's weird. You'd think I'd get it by now, but no, I have to really wake up in the morning and say, Seth, you're not in control and I don't trust you. And
yep, every day, just turning your will and your life over to, something bigger. My life is just so full because of my sobriety, and it means the world to me. Sobriety is my priority. And if you are struggling, there is hope for you, and reach out. Don't be afraid. Seth's number is available and bio links and everything, and utilize your tools for sure.
There's absolutely hope.
Absolutely.
It's possible. Nothing is impossible.
No matter how stuck you think you are, there are innumerable possibilities. I don't remember who said that, but somebody famous said that. I still don't have it all together, 100%. But like, it takes time. Those relationships, that trust that you broke, a lot of people think, well, myself included, like, I've been sober for 2 weeks and you don't trust me? Like, what? Why? And what we fail to realize is that we spent years, sometimes some of us decades, drinking and promising, I'm not going to do this again, and then doing it again. I'm not going to do it again and doing it again. Like, that is some serious broken trust. And that's not rebuilt overnight, and it's not rebuilt over a few months. I think that's really important to understand. And so be patient and give your loved ones grace, because they gave you a lot of grace.
And you can't approach it as transactional.
Right.
You can't have an agenda. When you're getting sober, you do things for your family or your wife, your significant other, whatever, because you love them and it's the right thing to do. Not because you're doing it in the hopes that they're going to eventually do what you want them to do.
Right.
Otherwise, you're not going to make it. You really
No, it's really counterintuitive.
Yeah.
Thinking.
Yeah, you have to do things in a way where you do not expect anything out of anyone.
Yep.
And you have to be content with that. And when people tell you messed up or you hurt them, you have to accept it. And you do not come back with, well, what about what you did to me?
Yeah.
That's tough, but eventually over time you get used to it and then life gets easier.
You owe it to yourself. You are worth it. And that was my biggest problem, was I didn't think I was worth it. And man, I was wrong. We're worth it.
And life gets better. But yeah, thank you so much, Vic. You're amazing. I appreciate you always being there. I mean, when I met you, you were, I think, 4 months in.
I remember when you first came in. And just seeing you now it's been remarkable. Just watching your recovery, it's been really, really beautiful to watch. Just seeing that light come on in your eyes, seeing that light in your eyes. Love it.
I was in rough shape.
We all were.
Yeah, grateful. Thank you for saying that. And I appreciate you. And keep up the great work. You've got this.
Thank you so much. You got this too.
Thanks, friend.